And I want to do the. Come on. Oh, come on, don't ask me. And
Oh, you're looking.
yeah, I've got it. Okay. It's good to see you all here tonight. Why are you here tonight and not other nights? Because we don't have meetings on other nights. Oh dear. Okay, it's almost election. I know. I got it figured out. So good to see your faces anyway. Let's stand and do the Pledge of Allegiance and the prayer. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Let's remain standing, please. Well, Almighty God, there are some folks that say we ought not to be praying. I don't know how we can go through life without acknowledging that we are, without acknowledging that we're not alone. Bless these proceedings, bless this town, bless all that's going on so positive here, and thank you. Amen. Okay. The agenda is before you. Are there any changes, any additions?
Mayor, I had stopped by the town clerk this afternoon, but rather than make a change at that point, I just wanted to know if we could take a few moments somewhere along the evening to discuss our crepe myrtle trees in our town and their maintenance and what we could do to improve that look.
Why don't we just add a little discussion at the end of new business?
Sure.
Would that work?
Thank you.
Is that okay? Or
Couldn't it just be done?
what do we need any action, you think, Alan?
Not at this time. I just wanted
Okay,
to-
we'll just include it as part of the Mayon Town report, board reports. Okay, anything else? Is there a motion that the agenda is approved as written?
I make a motion. Go ahead, Jim.
I'll make the motion, approve the agenda as written.
All right, all in favor, please raise your right hand. And that's approved. We are obviously missing one of our members. Junior served this town well because of his job pressures. He's decided that he needs to focus completely on that, and he has withdrawn as a commissioner. We discussed it internally with the town manager and the attorney, and decided that the mechanism for replacing Junior before the general election would be too cumbersome and take too long. So we're just going to leave it up to the public to make decisions about who will fill in this seat in the coming year. All right. We first have an introduction of the new Community Development Coordinator, Chrissy Porter, by Elizabeth Krieg.
I'm pleased to introduce Chrissy Porter, the town's new community and economic developer. She holds a bachelor's degree in business and marketing from ECU. She has owned and operated several small businesses in our area. I really feel that Chrissy will connect with the business owners and staff to elevate the presence of our town. Chrissy will work with our management team to develop a corporate sponsorship campaign for park expansion, apply for grants, and plan events that will showcase Anger.
Okay. Welcome aboard. Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm so pleased to be here. It's been a wonderful first day and met a lot of already people that I can tell I'm going to be good friends and hit it off with. If you need me or have any input or suggestions of things that maybe worked in the past that we need to lean into, or things that you notice maybe weren't quite worth the effort, I would love to hear the information, and so you can help me as I move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
All right. We need to introduce our new finance fellow, a finance fellow, which is Faith Gray. Hans, you want to explain that and introduce?
Well, this is long overdue. So we know that we had applied, of course, for an NC lead and whatnot, and lo and behold, Faith Gray. Faith, you have already hit the ground running. Faith has hit the ground running and made changes that the finance staff and the town in general could not achieve otherwise. And again, yes, it's through the UNC School of Government, it's through AmeriCorps, and then a bit of our payment that she's with us, and we're fortunate for that.
So she'll be hanging around you, is that the deal?
As scary as that may sound.
Oh,
yes.
dear.
As long as she doesn't pick up any bad habits.
Not to dunk me in that. But I'll let Faith speak to
Okay.
what she's doing and so on.
Am I tall enough? There we go. Good evening. So, like you said, I am a Lead for NC Fellow through the UNC School of Government. They are kind of developed through AmeriCorps, so I'm an AmeriCorps service member. I will be here for 11 months, so till about July 7th. I'm working on 3 main projects while I'm here. And so my first project is to write a comprehensive financial policy plan. We have a lot of financial policies, but none of them are really written. It's a lot of oral communication in that aspect, and so I'm helping to write that. We currently sit about 65 pages. It's going to be long, but it's going to be really good for the development of the town. The second project I am working on is the ARP funds. And so we do have money from ARP to spend, and so I'm helping to kind of draft the policies and the ordinance to spend those funds. And the final big project I'm working on is the PAFR, so the Popular Annual Financial Report. There we go. A lot of acronyms. It is a way to make the ACFR, the Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, more understandable towards the public. And so it really lays it out in a way that if you don't have a financial background, you can understand more about our town, our demographics, and kind of what's going on with government. So
We'll be waiting on that one, Fed.
Yeah.
Oh, help me, please.
I gotta help myself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Very nice, yes.
Faith, where is home for you?
So I was born and raised in Fuquay. So I'm
Wow.
still living in Fuquay. I'm not far from home at all.
Okay.
Yeah, you haven't gone very far in life, have you? No.
I did not have to. I saw Anger on the list of host sites that I could apply for, and it was top of my list. I
Right on.
love this area. My Meemaw lives in this area now, and it's a second home to me, so I'm
Good.
really glad to be working here.
Thanks for taking
Well,
us on.
welcome home.
Welcome aboard.
Okay. Congratulations. All right, we've got public comment period. First, let me address something. Brian Hawley is serving as the town manager of Stantonsburg and apparently could not be here tonight, but nonetheless wanted this to be read as a public comment. it includes me, so I apologize if it sounds good. Okay. Honorable Mayor and Honorable Council, section below is personal in nature and sent as a private citizen. A letter is requested to be added to the Town of Andrew, September 5th, 2023 public minutes. First, I want to thank Mayor Bob Smith for his support during the emotional meeting regarding the water tower. I told you. Thank you for gaveling down the room as our town council was being accosted by members of the public. I also appreciate your support and kind words that you did not gavel me down as it has been claimed and simply call my name to prevent me from falling into the trap. Would also like to thank Mr. Hicks for what he said to those in attendance in their reasoning as to why they attempted to provoke a reaction. Your services will be missed, Mayor Smith. In case you don't know, I'm not running again. Second, the reason for all this is not something claimed that I did, but rather something people claim I did not do. Simply a strategy to seek revenge for the unethical actions that occurred while one of those persons was on the ABC board, as noted in my report. Third, I would ask Mr. Kasakavich to make public the messages he and his family have had to endure.
I think you need to start that sentence again.
Third, I would ask Mr. Kasakavich to make public the messages he and his family have had to endure. It's despicable that a Gold Star family has been treated in the way they have been treated. Lastly, thank you for the opportunity to address our council. God bless. I asked the clerk to read it, and she chickened out, so I'm sorry it had references to me in it, but anyway. All right. We've gotten through that. Other comments, other public comments. Nobody signed up. Anybody change your mind? You want to say anything? Here, nobody? Then we'll move forward. Approval of the minutes. We have 2 minutes, August 1st, 2023, and August 15th, the workshop. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the August 1st and August 15th meeting.
Okay, as a consent agenda. All right. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, raise your right hand, please. It's unanimous, Madam Clerk. All right, Dan Hotzog has served as our town attorney for some time now and done a bang-up job. Thank you, Dan. And you have a report on an agreement between the town and Jim Bergen and Jim Nicholson to place propane tanks on town property.
And I don't know if y'all have a copy in front of you, but there's one other small edit that we made after you got your copy, which is adding in paragraph 7, liability and indemnity, and it reads as follows. The property owners agree that they will take full responsibility for any injury or damage to or caused by the propane tanks, bollards, or fencing, and will indemnify the town for any claim asserted against the town due to any injury or damage covered by this provision. Just to make it clear, I think in the absence of that provision, the default would be that they would be responsible, but just to make it clear that, that because they're putting it up, they're responsible for the any injury caused. Other than that, it's a pretty straightforward agreement that, as discussed at the last meeting, that they will be allowed to place the propane tank on the property, identified with the PIN numbers and PID numbers at the top of the page. It'll be at their expense. They'll install concrete bollards and vinyl fencing with some form of vegetation sufficient to block the view of the propane tank and the bollards. They will be responsible for the maintenance of the fencing. And that's pretty much the gist of the agreement, so unless there's any questions.
Okay, the background is they had to move the tanks to be in subject to a request. So we discussed it at the last meeting of the town council and referred it to you to finish the agreement, and now it's before the board. Is there any motion that this agreement be approved?
I make a motion that we approve the agreement between the town and those owners for this.
As modified, as discussed with addition
Yes, with
paragraph
that
7.
addition.
What he said, yeah. Okay, any discussion? All right, if not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. It's approved unanimously, okay? Thank you. All right, next on the agenda is Dan Hartzog, also town attorney, twice in one night.
Right.
ABC funds for the Andrew Public Library. The background there is that the ABC board, in its generosity, gave us forwarded some funds to the town to be used by the library, as has been previously the practice. But in the meantime, the library was taken into the fold by the county, so there was confusion as to what to do. So here's Dan.
Right. So the written agreement we have with the ABC board requires them to set aside a certain amount of funds and to use those to provide to the Andrew Public Library, which now no longer exists because it's with the county. So the ABC board has contacted us to ask what should they be doing with the funds. Should they put them in trust? Should they just put those back in their general fund? I believe, based on prior discussions, there's some sense that maybe we want to get some special legislation to allow them to give those funds to the Harnett County Library now that it's under the wing of Harnett County, but we don't have that legislation in place at this time. And so the question is, what should the ABC board do with the funds that it would otherwise be sending to the Andrew Public Library until such time as we do get special legislation, which could be we may not get it. We may not get it for some time. It's a little bit, unknown whether that will come to fruition or not.
Have the funds not been sent to the town?
I believe they've been holding them in trust pending a direction from the board on what to do. And so that's why we're discussing it tonight.
I see. They've
So
been
what
held
is-
by the ABC board in
What does
trust.
the statute say? Is it mandatory that they send it? If it is mandatory, then it stays in a trust until the legislation can act on it.
It's not mandatory that they send it to the library. Their request was that we simply fall back on the statutory provisions and allow them to just use the funds as allowed by statute, which seems a reasonable request at this point. But we currently have an agreement that they will be setting aside funds for the Andrew Public Library. But again, because there is no Andrew Public Library anymore, they're just trying to figure out what do we do with these funds that we had been setting aside. I believe they've continued to set aside that amount of funds, each month or whatever it is, but nowhere to send it.
But it's not mandated that we have to send it.
It's currently mandated by the agreement that they send it to the Andrew
Right.
Public Library.
Right. But since there's no Andrew Library and it's been dissolved,
Correct.
I wonder if we might consider having a new agreement drafted and have those funds set aside for park expansion.
I would be for that.
Why not?
I think that sounds good. I like that. I mean, that's again for the youth and
Park
for
expansion or something for, the
you know,
town.
certainly in the same way that the library is for benefit to those people.
Right.
And so the checks that we were getting from the ABC board that we received, that money was not included in the check that we would be given.
I think that's slightly different. They still provide funds, but this was just a special provision in the agreement that a certain amount of funds would be sent each period to the Andrew Public
Quarterly.
Library.
Just like it is for the police department gets a certain amount, the town gets a
So
certain amount.
that was separate.
So any-
related
any-
from
like,
the money that
yeah,
came
like
to
the
the
boys
town.
and girls home, they got a certain amount, yeah.
And
Now, any agreement we reach, we'll have to have the ABC board agree to as
Approved,
part of an
yeah.
agreement.
With that, I mean, yes, I think going to the parks fund would be a huge benefit. We're also in limbo about what will happen over here. We haven't washed the library away completely.
Not
We're
completely.
under. It's my under.
3 years.
This is a trial probation. If
Mm-hmm.
this is going to work or not work, we might wind up taking that library back. I don't know.
That's true.
But I don't want people to think that we have washed our hands of the library
Right.
because all we did was do a trial run here with the county to see if it benefited them and us at the same time. So, to
Well-
say that there is never going to be, we won't be running it, but in the meanwhile, that could be it. I would also, if we did that, I would like to receive the statements, making sure that they're going to us so that we know what is if it's a trust fund or whatever it is, but the accountability of the fact that what is being put in there, that we also are privy to the knowledge of what is being contributed to that fund, just so we know.
Right. Well, and they provide the accounting every so often. I can't remember how often they report, but they do provide the accounting of where the funds
Yep.
go to the
I
board.
think a yearly.
Yeah.
I think it's quarterly.
Quarterly.
It's quarterly.
Okay. Is it the consensus of the board that we have the town manager ask the ABC board to direct that the funds be used for the park instead of the,
I'm fine with that.
I would be
we
in
can
favor
Order
of
people.
that.
So I would
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
definitely anything we can do to help people out.
okay.
We will discuss that with the ABC board, and if we can reach an
Okay.
agreement on that, then we'll bring a revised agreement to the board for approval.
Which we'll then take action on at
Right.
that time.
And if
Okay.
not, we'll come back to the board at the next meeting and let you know.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Madam Clerk, you have some people who want to be on the ABC board. Now, first, are there people that we have not heard from?
Yes. We have, we have not interviewed Nicholas Adcock, Rhonda Springer. She's not able to be here tonight. Tammy Farley and Bob. I don't know if it's
Gravel.
Gravelli. Okay, sorry.
All right, remind us how many terms we're filling and how many people and
So the two vacancies that we have right now are to be fulfilling two terms that haven't been met. One of them is for the remaining term of Junior Price, which ends December 31st, 2024. And then the second one is Mike Hill's term that ends on December 31st, 2025. So the two that get appointed would fill the remainder of those two terms.
6, 8, and we have 9 people who have applied.
Correct.
Okay. All right. We have interviewed Joe Langley, Tom Taylor, Crystal Partolo, Ronnie Pleasant, and Dennis Gilby. Those who have not yet been interviewed are Nicholas Adcock, Rhonda Springer, Tommy Farley, and Bob Gravel, as you mentioned. So, taking them in order, is Nicholas Adcock here? If you would come forward and tell us your interest in being a member of the ABC board, and first introduce yourself and tell us something about you.
Yes, sir. My name's Nicholas Adcock. I'm from Anger. Grew up here, went to Harnett Central. Went to the Marine Corps after that. And then I've been a general manager for the John Heister organization for about the last 8 years. And actually just left there and taken over my dad's power washing company because he's ready to retire. So been here all of my life. Love the place, love the people. ABC board is something I'm interested in just because I like the logistics of it. In the Marine Corps, I did logistics. And, in the car business, I've been a general manager over dealerships. That includes accounting and managing people and, ordering vehicles and stuff like that. And I think that a lot of the values that I have and a lot of the skills I have line up with the ABC board.
Okay. Questions from the board?
So these are standard questions I ask. You've probably been warned by other people. So, Nicholas, in your thought of serving on that particular board, have you ever attended any of the board meetings to find out what it is they exactly do in the sessions?
I have not, sir. I was in the Marine Corps for 10 years and then started with Easter, and I ended up going to a dealership in Goldsboro. So I've actually only been back in town for about a month and a half.
You've only lived here a month and a half.
Well,
But you said something earlier about you've been here all your life,
Yes,
right?
sir. No, my house is here, but I was traveling an hour and 15 minutes for work. So I'm normally not home till about 10:30 at night.
Did you have any discussion with anyone just about what the meetings are, what is expected of you when serving on that particular board?
Not recently. I had an interest in this when I first started at Easter, and I worked with. I spoke a lot with Philip Allen, who used to be on the board. So I've got a little bit of knowledge from him. You know, I think he's been off for about 5 or 6 years now, but I used to go over that stuff with him at work because it was something I was always interested in.
Okay, good. And I'm gonna ask a question from that I know Mr. Price would ask if he was here, and we always do like to know this information. And I know you sign statements and things, but are you in any way have any personal family working for the ABC board that's an employment there or on the board itself?
No, sir.
Okay.
You said that you work out of town until 10:30 at night.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you think that might be a conflict with the meetings?
I'm not doing that anymore. On September 9th, I left the dealership and I took
Okay.
over my dad's business, which I'm normally done about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Just want to make sure it's
Yes,
on
ma'am.
record. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? If not, Nicholas, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Let's see, is Rhonda Springer the one you said was not here?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Tammy Farley?
Hello,
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing well. I hope you are.
Yes.
You want me just to start?
Give us your name and background and then why you're interested in being on the ABC board.
Okay. So I'm Tammy Farley. I grew up in Fuquay. I've lived in Anger for 21 years. I'm a real estate broker, property manager. I handle all the accounting in our office for all the property management. I do the trust accounts, maintain those. I've been audited, and it was perfect. And so I just feel like, just with my experience with my work, that I probably could contribute something. You know, I'm open to learning, and I just want to just do more for my community, pretty much. That's why I'm trying to do this.
Questions from the board?
Tammy, I'll go with this, but I know you, of
Yes,
course. But I do have some a question here for you. You are a busy lady,
Yes, sir.
and I know that.
Okay.
You are president on that Rotary Club,
Mm-hmm.
and that is a small group of people doing the work of a big machine. I
sir.
don't know how you do it, but I know you are active in several things.
Yes, sir.
You know, have you leveled that against what you already have on your plate, against feeling that, yes, I have the time to commit to that particular board?
Absolutely. I mean, you're correct. I am president of the Rotary Club for this year. We're going along we're doing good. And I've got a lot of teammates, and everyone's pulling their own. And so that frees me up a little bit with that. I kind of just keep the soldiers together, and they're doing all the hard work. And, you know, I feel like I've got more than enough time. Yeah.
Well, I know your background a lot is certainly in real estate
Yes,
and
sir.
that area, and I'm thinking, did you ever consider serving on the planning board, which is certainly your an expertise of your area. I have to remind people, we have so many options here. And so with planning board, community development board, we have all these choices of other things that you can do. But when I saw you, I was like, oh, she is a planning board candidate for absolutely sure with her background and knowledge. Why the ABC board, Tammy?
Starting small, not that ABC,
Ooh.
but you know what I'm trying. I don't really have a good answer to that, Mr.
Okay.
Allen.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I thought, yes, since I was thinking all these other things and what you were capable of, I thought, why is she interested in the ABC board?
The planning has been brought to my attention. Honestly, I feel like I'm not ready for that yet. I feel like I need more. I've got the best person training me, but I just feel like I got a little, for me to be comfortable. More people are more comfortable in me than what I think I am at this point.
Okay.
So.
And then my next question, have you attended any of the meetings to find out really what goes on in that ABC? Okay. And the next one would be, are you related to any personal family members employed or serving on the ABC board currently?
No, sir.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Nope, she answered it.
All right. Good enough. Thank you.
Sir, thank you.
Bob Gravel.
Hello. Bob Gravel. I lived in Angier for a couple of years now. I retired in 21 from city government. I'm familiar with, I'm a retired public works superintendent, and I'm familiar with, you were talking about other boards. I was actually in charge of facilities and fleet for the city with an operating budget of $48 million, staff of 113 employees. And to be honest with you, I'm bored. I have a lot of time on my hands. I want to get more involved with the community. And I saw this as an opportunity. I'd be willing to look into any of the commissions.
Questions from the board?
Well, as you said, of course, you just mentioned, and again, you're another one where I read your resume and I was like, wow, this man has a lot of experience here. And I was like, oh, we could get him on that planning board. And I'm not complaining about the planning board. Let me make that clear. I just know that those people, they need the help, and they, when those vacancies come up, they're hard to fill again, in those positions. Have you attended by chance any of the ABC board meetings? Are you in any way related to any of the employees there or anyone on the board currently serving?
I don't even know any of them.
All right. You may after tonight. You never know. Thank you.
Is that it? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do y'all remember the presentations from the prior people?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
Okay. All right, so we have Joe Langley, Tom Taylor, Crystal Partelow, Ronnie Pleasant, Dennis Gilby, Nicholas Adcock, Rhonda Springer, Tammy Farley, and Bob Gravel. Rhonda, of course, could not be here tonight. So, is there a discussion among the board members?
I'd like to make a motion for Dennis Gilby to be nominated.
Okay. Is there a discussion on that? For which term?
Probably, I'd like to see him probably with juniors. That'll give him what, up until December? Is that correct?
And then, of course, would be eligible to
Reapply.
reapply.
Mm-hmm.
Any other discussion?
No, because again, we will have spaces coming open again here shortly.
Right. All in favor of this nomination, raise your right hand. Okay, it's done. We have one other position.
Mayor, I'd like to make a proposal that Joe Langley fill the other seat that is available.
And that's the other outstanding term. Okay, is there any discussion on that? If not, is all in favor, please raise your right hand.
For Joe Langley.
Joe Langley. Opposed? It's 2-1. Mr. Langley is selected. Okay. Thank you all for being candidates and for your interest in the town. Listen to the commissioner and be open to other positions as well.
Or reapply for this one again. Like I said, we have turnovers coming up quickly in that department as well.
Okay. All right. Moving on. Thank you all for helping us get through this. Okay. Bill Drexler, Harnett County capacity increase. First Amendment. Welcome, Mr. Drexler.
Mayor, Commissioners, just to give you a little quick background, as you know, we were appropriated about $6.1 million in combined session law 2021 and 2022. The state then combined both of those appropriations into one project number. When we received the first letter of intent to fund back after session law 2021 was adopted, in reading the letter of intent, it had project schedules on it, milestone dates. And the first thing that jumped out at me is, well, we don't have a project. Harnett County has a project, but we don't. You know, this is a capacity purchase. It involves 4 stakeholders: one Harnett County, the town of Lillington, Fuquay, Varina, and the town of Angier, with the project being handled by the county. So in terms of getting construction drawings submitted, hiring the contractor, that's all lies within the county. We just pay our pro rata share as the project is moving along. So it took DWI a pretty good long time to kind of wrap their heads around how they wanted all of the stakeholders to handle this. And they ended up requiring that we prepare an interlocal agreement between the town of Angier and Harnett County. That ended up becoming an amendment to our 2006 wastewater agreement. So it's fairly short and simple. I think, as I said, DWI, it took 6 versions. The one you see is the 6th. Staff worked on version 1, sent it to the state, and then we had 5 more versions that came out of the state before they finally agreed on how the language should read. So I don't know that we'd be able to get the state to change any of the language, but my biggest concern, I guess, and you saw I went ahead and provided in the package, so you could see there was communication, and we have it, documented, was how the payments were going to work. Because obviously, when we get into this, if we get a bill from Harnett County for $2 or $3 million, we can't just write a check and then wait for reimbursement to come in. The county understands that, and even though the language in the agreement or the amendment doesn't specifically say that, the county understands that we're going to pay them when we receive reimbursement. As I said, that was really my only concern moving forward. And they are getting close, so I think I think we'll start maybe within the next 6 months seeing progress on bidding that project.
Our share is 14%. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Right now, based on the current budget that we have received from Harnett County, from Harnett Regional Water, our share of the project is $10,407,100.
Right.
And our appropriated funds in 2021 and 2022 are $6,118,750.
A little birdie told me that the legislature might have a little more money for us, but the birdie hasn't shown up yet. So.
Keep talking to them.
Yeah.
And we have from the very beginning, with the initial letter of intent to fund, that first 2021 session law, we had to include where we thought additional funds would come from. So it wasn't an obligation, but we've kind of had where are we going to fill in these holes in terms of funding in a submittal to the state from the very beginning?
Okay, bottom line, what happens if we don't do this?
Might not have access to that $6.1 million because we have to request reimbursement.
But we will run out of capability, right?
That's correct. Yeah, I was just handed another project as I walked in tonight that had 180 units, so we desperately need the additional capacity.
Okay. You have the agreement before you. Are there any questions that the board has? Bill?
Well, obviously, Bill, you are the expert in this area, and this certainly is something that you would like to see happen. That it's a good thing that we, make this amendment.
Yes, sir.
Any comments from our town manager?
So I would say that if you did not approve the amendment, that we would most likely very soon have to put a moratorium on all development because we would not have capacity to treat wastewater.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything from you, Dan, that did it all look worded like you wanted it to be?
Yeah, as far as the legal sufficiency of it, it looks fine, and I think it's necessary.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Is there a motion regarding this matter?
I move to adopt the proposed First Amendment of Utility Agreement and authorize execution by the mayor.
Okay. Is it set up for me?
I'm reading what I was. They give us these lovely
Yeah,
little pre-done
I-
motions so we don't get too confused about it. So.
Okay. I see my name there. All right. Okay. All in favor of the motion, please raise your right hand. And there's no opposed. Okay. Thank you. It is approved unanimously. Bill, thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners.
You've been a stalwart around this place for a long time, so
It's home.
we appreciate you.
It's home.
Right on.
Since the 1980s, so
Okay.
thanks, sir.
Thank you. Elizabeth, Madam Town Manager, you have a budget amendment.
I do have a budget amendment. This is going to take funds that are already in our general fund budget from the capital outlay in the administration department and move it to a police station fund. As y'all are aware, we've released the RFQ, we've received proposals, and we'll be very shortly evaluating those proposals and inviting the top 3 design build firms to come and interview with our committee. I do want to note that this will delay the paving over there across from Napper Tandy's if you make this amendment to move funds into the police department building fund.
For the
By how long?
park there? Parking lot?
The parking lot, yes.
Boo-hoo.
By how long?
I'm not certain of how long. I guess the question is, do you want to put funds into the police department building fund, or do you want to move forward with the paving of that parking lot and then potentially take money out of fund balance to fund the police station?
Boo-hoo again. Yikes. Because we so desperate.
We've been working on that project for the parking lot for 3 years now? So we're kicking the can down the street again.
And we need it so desperately. Go out there tonight. That field is covered in cars.
How much is that? How much are you taking from the parking lot project?
I propose to take all of it, but we don't have to take all of it.
What is all?
However,
What is all of it?
$305,000. No, I'm sorry, $300,000.
If other funds show up in the future, can we switch things around?
You're welcome to not pass the amendment, and we can come back and punt on the police station building. We don't need $300,000 right now, but we will eventually need to pay.
Can we table it?
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I make a motion that we table it.
I mean, where are we sitting now, even with the proposal time of starting that parking lot over there?
Jimmy has some bids, and they
Okay.
are, they were going to be presented at the next meeting.
Okay.
Motion to table takes priority. Any discussion on the motion to table? If not, all in favor of the motion to table, raise your right hand. It's so ordered. All right. Okay. Voluntary annexation petition.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. Tonight, the town is requesting that you all annex property that we own as a town, which is our old wastewater treatment facility down Smith Drive. It's not been in our town, so we have some improvements, the leach drain facility that we want to locate there. Through some permitting of that facility, we realized that our property is not in our town limits, and we need to have it in our town limits. So,
Okay. Just to clarify, you're not asking that we annex it tonight. You're simply asking
correct.
to direct the clerk
Correct. We're-
to
yeah,
determine the sufficiency of the application.
correct. Asking you all to adopt a resolution 16/2023 to direct the clerk to investigate the sufficiency of the petition submitted by the town of Anger.
And y'all are familiar with that process. It's done. Is there a motion to direct the clerk to determine the sufficiency of the annexation of the, how is it identified? The 41.82 acres, is that right?
That's correct.
I make said motion.
Smith Drive, okay. All right, any discussion? If not, all in favor, please raise your right hand. Okay, it's unanimous, Madam Clerk.
All right, thank you.
I'm squinting because I've got it on my phone. All right, the Bike Fest, Gene Jocelyn, what you got for us, Gene?
That time of the year again.
Yes, it
Get
is.
it in and come and thank you guys for allowing us to have Bike Fest again this past year. We did very well. We raised close to $20,000. A very big, successful Bike Fest. And it keeps growing every year with the amount of people coming. And we also received a bigger sponsor from Tobacco Road Harley Davidson this year. So that puts out a little bit more publicity, and we expand our clientele even more, as you want to say it, to get more donations for the kids. So it's been a very good, successful. Every year we keep growing, and we're possibly looking to maybe move, and we do pretty much take up the whole weekend. We might want to expand it to Sunday, where we can actually add possibly the ride for kids itself. It's a huge ride. Usually it's done it was done in May. They moved it to now September, and it's out technically in Chatham County, which really isn't the Triangle anymore. It's farther out, where we consider Anger part of the Triangle. We actually are part of the Triangle a little bit, because everybody lives out here, pretty much works in the Triangle. So we're working on maybe if we can move that out or do a ride on that Sunday. So we kind of were looking for us to expand it to Sunday, be able to allow us to do that ride and have some festival out there for the kids and do something on that Sunday for them. It's just a possibility. Don't know until we can actually do it. We just want to have that approval to be able to do that at the same time.
Gene, what would that do as to the street closures and things like that?
As of right now,
For Sunday.
Usually when we do a ride, when we do our actual ride in October, we usually put it out right in front here of the road. Everybody lines up their bikes right out here on the road, and we line up there, and we run out from there. And it's a good 2-hour ride, and then we come back to a designation. We used to do Vicious Fishes, or we'll probably do Napper Tandies again this year.
So actually on Sunday, you only need enough
We need enough
closure to get out of here.
Correct. And my goal is to have over 100 bikes or more, and I've seen it that way. It's just a matter of trying to produce enough of a ride that's beautiful, because we in Harnett County have wonderful roads to ride on, and that's why I like riding this. You can't go to North Raleigh. They're beautiful out there, but we have some real good rides in Harnett County. We love to have these kids come ride on those if we can. it's potential to go that route. It makes it easier for us than having 2 separate days. Now we're planning for 2 different events, basically. So we're looking at that direction, but we wouldn't be able to do it if the town of Andrew didn't help us out and do what they do. Look, the police department, even though we pay for them, they're great to deal with. Known them for years. Public Works helping us out, making sure it's there, and then you guys added the extra electric. That's huge when it is warm. Thank goodness it's not 100 degrees like it is today. So we're kind of looking to see if we can get it approved for the same thing that we normally do. We're just saying, hey, we're looking to possibly do the ride on that Sunday and get that in there as well, so we can make sure everybody's covered.
Okay, so briefly summarize what else we have normally approved just for those here.
Normally we approve Friday night. We use it. We have a band that comes in, or band or 2 that comes in and plays from 7 to 10. We block off that portion of the parking lot, and we have that all sectioned off because people come in and start setting up on that Friday night. Saturday we're usually from early morning, maybe about 7 o'clock in the morning, we close off the roads and start people coming in, and then we close them off to about 11 so we don't have any issues with people. Usually people are out before then. We've been going till 8 o'clock. We've been adjusting times because we've been doing so long where everybody's gone by 4 o'clock. We're trying to keep people longer, and to help out actually places like Napper Tandy's and a couple of the other restaurants in the area.
Well, that's what I was wondering. How are the downtown businesses doing with all this?
I know Napper Tandy's did very well.
Okay.
So we have a lot of people come and they see everything. They get to see Andrew. And they're not coming from just in Andrew. There's people around Andrew that do ride bikes. Trust me, I can sit in my office every day long and I look out and hear motorcycles riding by. But there's people coming from Chatham County. They're coming from all over to enjoy Andrew for the 2 days, 3 days, whatever we have to put it on. And one comment that was on Facebook was, in 50 years of this person going to bike festivals, this is probably one of the most professionally run and smoothly run festival he's ever been to.
So, Madam Town Manager, normally we have a set of what actually is going to be closed, and
that was because of us.
So we're doing the same thing as last year, plus we're adding Sunday.
We won't close right now. I'm not saying close down any roads because we don't know how many we would have, and I would just do the same thing we normally do.
And it would just be gathering people until they ride out. So,
correct.
Does everybody understand that as the proposal? Okay. All right. Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we go ahead and grant the request by
Gene Jocelyn
for Bike Fest.
I see no dates on here.
That would be the. Hold on, I got to go back in my.
There's nothing here about a date.
The first weekend of June.
June, yeah.
Yeah, it's always that first weekend of June. I'm sorry, I'm so used to going through and it being always the first weekend of June.
So that is not in conflict with anything else scheduled already. Just checking.
Well, I guess it would be the first and second and third. Usually, it's around the first, second, and third.
It is.
Yep.
Okay. Any other discussion or questions? Okay. All in favor, please raise your left hand. Okay. They're sharp tonight. I was just checking. All right.
Thank you guys very much. I
thank
appreciate
you.
what you guys have done in supporting the pediatric brain tumor in kids with cancer.
Right on. Right on. Thank you, Jane. Okay. Madam Town Manager, you've got a report, I take it?
This weekend is the Crepe Myrtle Festival, 49th annual, and I want to thank the Chamber, who is the main sponsor and host, and I also want to thank all of the volunteers and town staff who work to make this event a success. The celebration begins with a concert on Friday, September, I think that's actually 8th, by River Mist at 7 p.m., and then Saturday the festivities begin at 10 a.m.
And before you go on, may I interrupt for 1 second? Yes, and I'm glad you read that and did that. And I just thought I'd take a moment to also mention, since before we lose everybody that may be online as we go into these reports and things for people, yes, 49th celebration, that's really huge. And I would just, having been a chamber member back before this, it's a small board of about 10 to 12 people. And it's a massive project along with the town to produce it and make it happen. And I'm just saying, if you have any time to volunteer, I know on Friday at 10 o'clock, they begin moving stuff over to the depot. And the big push again is on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock to help set up. And, you know, it can't be done by 10 people on the chamber. If you can free some time, I know they would love to have your help. And I think you might even enjoy that volunteer of that amount of time. But you contact the chamber, Shelby, and I'm sure that they can help you. But we hope to see you there because it's a fun time if you've never attended it and you've just moved to Andrew in the last year or two. So join us. Sorry to interrupt you,
You're fine.
Elizabeth.
Thank you. That was great. As you heard about the wastewater capacity purchase, the amendment that you just passed, Bill mentioned a shortfall in the funding. We are applying for a USDA loan to cover that, and that has been the plan for several months or maybe even since the beginning of this process. The police station project, Davenport Public Finance is slated to present a financial overview to you in the coming weeks, and this is part of the USDA funding process for the police station loan. As you heard from Faith and Hans, she's working on the American Rescue Plan Act funds. There are several policies that the board will need to adopt before we can actually spend those funds, and so those will be coming to you depending on the legal review from the league in the next month or so.
Well, wait a minute. Board have any questions of the town manager?
I do apologize.
Any questions?
Nope.
Okay, well
Thank you.
you're free then. Okay. All right. Staff reports. Human resources, that's in the file. Any addition? Engineering? Anything else? Okay, it's in the file. Parks and Rec. Public Works. Jimmy, you got anything? Planning and inspections. Okay. Police Department. And Finance.
Nothing at the moment.
Okay.
It's surprising, yeah.
Yeah, well, there you go. Okay, anything from the town board?
Okay, Myrtle.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, that would be the moment when I'd ask to add something on. No, I just wanted to bring up quickly, and we can put it on something to look at. I know I just noticed in the last several weeks as I ride around town, many of these crepe myrtles that we planted years and years ago are kind of distressed and sad when you see half a tree alive and half of it dead. And we are known, and every logo says Town of Crepe Myrtles, and we've been pushing new developers and builders to add to that. And I'm just wondering if we could consider, you know, what we could do. And I know Public Works is swamped, Jimmy, but, you know, down the road in the fall, you know, when things calm down, and that we look, is there a possibility to begin some pruning of some of these dead growth out of these trees? I mean, they're beautiful when they're green and flowers, but when half of it's sitting there dead, it's not appealing when you ride into town. And I think we could give them a little bit of love, perhaps.
Actually, Commissioner Coates, I was talking to my staff a couple weeks ago about it as I come into town on 210 about trimming the suckers and everything along the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've never been trimmed since I've been here, so that was one of the fall projects we looked at doing once we get through some of our grass cutting. So I think just going through there and trimming some of those up and cleaning some of those up, that was, you know, one of those fall winter projects we were going to.
Well, great minds think alike.
How about the trees or shrubs themselves?
Sir?
What about the trees themselves?
anything that we see that needs pruning back, we'll prune back anything that's dead. But most of what I've seen is just, the suckers usually come up on those. We do a good job about keeping the downtown area, all those suckers, cut off. But, the areas along 210, that was maybe in front of people's houses. We really have not done anything with those. So that's just one of the projects.
Right. What is the town's jurisdiction? It's only those within the right of way, right?
Correct. And that's the ones we're talking about, along the right of way, as you come in on 210, east and west.
Okay.
So now just make sure, when you say just as you come into town, what?
So everything along 210 is what I have noticed.
Yes.
As you come in within the city limits.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I know what Bob's questioning. It's they're in the easement of what the town has. They were planted years ago in that, so we would be able to go in and give them some of that. And it's all that dead limage. I've come along. It's like, oh, okay. It used to be so pretty. But we can get back to that.
Just need to be thinned out a little bit. Yes,
Well,
sir.
thank you.
When I was a young pup commissioner and didn't know any better, I suggested that we do a program whereby we could enable people to buy young crepe myrtles and plant them around to help fill in where some of them had died or otherwise. Is that a possibility, or?
I think we could possibly get with our new coordinator and see
Hey.
where we can spot and see what kind of projects we can come up with for that.
Okay.
Good idea.
One of the other things I need to mention to you, I noticed there's a lot of grass growing on some of the sidewalks and then right up against some of the buildings on the sidewalk that we need to address.
In the downtown area?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll check on that because I know we had a conversation with the guys the other day about Thanks Latte, and they had got that cleaned up. So usually we try to send somebody around and to spray for those. So we'll make sure that we get that taken care of.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I don't think people realize just how constantly Public Works is going around and doing stuff for this town. Thank you, Jimmy, for all you do.
Thank you.
All right. I think that's all we have on our agenda. Anybody else have anything else? Is there a motion we adjourn?
Make the motion we adjourn.
Okay. Thank you all for coming here. It's just so good to see your faces, and we are adjourned.
I got this from Mr. Peter.